Here comes Janet.
Oh, good. Hi, Janet. Hi, Ted. Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. And first thing on our agenda of this regular meeting is approved minutes of December 7th, 2021. So motion to approve.
I so move.
I'll second that. Okay. Any discussion? Okay. How you doing, Janet?
I'm okay.
Okay, good. Okay, so hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the minutes December 7th, say aye.
Aye.
Next communication, I did want to put out there at the beginning of the meeting, our holiday hours. The transfer station will be closed on the Saturday, the 25th of December, which is a big day, Christmas, and also New Year's Day, January 1st, which is also a Saturday. So anyway, please plan around that. And the town hall will be closing for a half day on Thursday. And so anyway, those are just some meeting changes or opening changes. Any other communications? Okay. Here are no other communications, additions to the agenda. I have one, which is the opioid suit settlement, signing on to this national settlement action. So is there a second to add the opioid suit to the agenda?
A second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. No other additions. Let's see. Then we have the COVID-19 update. I think people who've been following the news know that we are in the middle of another spike, unfortunately. Second holiday season in a row. Right now is today, Connecticut's positivity test rate is at its highest level ever reported. It's at 9%. And the Omicron variant has become dominant in a very short time. Last week, there was 3% of cases. This week, it's up to 73% of cases due to its increased contagiousness. So again, the best prevention of this is vaccination and boosters, but we have to work hard to redouble our efforts to make sure our healthcare system doesn't get overwhelmed by this. And of course, we want everybody to stay healthy. It's hard this time of year especially, but I would encourage people to exercise outside. We're lucky we're able to do that in a variety of ways here in town. And again, we're all in this together, and hopefully we will see an improved spring and summer as we did last year. So, but again, we have to get through this hard session we have right now. There are many opportunities and places to get vaccinated or boosted We've put out information about that on the website, and thanks to the people that are making that happen. Anything else on COVID from the board? Okay. But as this is changing quickly, some parts are changing, some parts aren't. It's good to stay up with the current facts. There's still quite a bit of misinformation out there, but the basics are the same. So anyway, thanks for everybody's cooperation on that. Again, and also thanks to the people that have brightened up our holiday season. We've got a little promotional for our 12 days of Christmas down in West Cornwall, and to thank Jim Laporta for wiring the solar powered tree down in Cornwall Bridge, giving a little light in the darkness. It's nice to drive through Cornwall Bridge at night and see that beacon as you drive across the bridge. And again, thanks to people lighting things up and making the season a better place and a better season than it would be if people didn't work on that. So next appointments, I think we just have one more at this point, and that's for Jane Hall, who is interested in being on Park and Rec. She has quite a bit to offer the town and the commission, and again, we're lucky to have her volunteer, and she has one of the youngest children in town. So anyway, thank her for taking her time to do that. So I'd make a motion that we appoint Jane Hall to Park and Rec. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Budget 2023, that seems like a long ways away, but actually we're going to start working on the budget next month, and notices will come out for 2 departments and 2 agencies as we start working on that. And Janet, just so you know, because you've been on the Board of Finance and you've seen our end product but haven't been there from the start, we usually go over some of the lines that we control early on, like in the end of January, and meet with some of our department heads, like Jim from the Highway Department and Ted from the transfer station, to see what's happening in those departments. They can join us, and then we'll get, dozens of requests from various town boards, commissions, organizations to wade through, and then we present to the Board of Finance by the middle of February. So it's more, there's special meetings to pull that all together, end of January, early February, when we start seeing what's going on with some of those things. Are there any questions on that? So I just want to let people know that that's after we get over the holidays, we get right into the budget season and start looking at what's out there as far as next year's budget things. We know I did have a good meeting with Joe Pryor, this Board of Finance, and Emily Pryor, who's head of the school board and the school principal. Talk about the school landscape of budget, and they're doing well there. They're not seeing many increases at the local level, but this 8th grade class is quite large by Cornwall standards. So we will be sending a lot of freshmen up to the high school next fall, but the budgetary impact of that isn't for the following year. But again, that can be a major impact on the budget, depending on what the high school tuition numbers come at. And also this year, what will impact the budget this year is revaluation. Residents should know that that process is ongoing, and people are encouraged to talk to our assessors if they have questions about their valuation of their property. Overall, property went up quite a bit in town, and individually can go up even more. So there is a process, which is to talk to the assessor, and then to, if people aren't satisfied with the answers, then there's a whole separate board of assessment appeals that people can go to and have a hearing on their assessment. So that wraps up in March. It's based as the value as of October 31st. So we will have a new mill rate just based on the revaluation. People's property taxes can go up or down just based on that. Yes, Janet, you had a question.
Yeah. So what was the average rate that people had increases in Cornwall?
I think on residential property is something like 17, 18%. What was interesting about this cycle, and each cycle is different. One thing was that there were a lot of sales this year. Often that's a problem, but there are not a lot of comparable sales this year. Whatever problems we didn't have that problem because there were quite a few sales all over town. I think what also happened was you saw an increase in the values right across the board. Oftentimes, a lot of the bigger properties, more expensive properties go up more. Actually, some of the biggest properties stayed the same or stayed the same as far as I understand. And a lot of these smaller properties that were assessed, say, for a couple $100,000, those went up substantially because, as we know, there's very few houses at this point for under $500,000. So again, I think there was quite a bit of movement up on the on individuals, depending somewhat on the current value, the location, that kind of thing.
Well, I'm just curious because if you look nationally, the national average is 14.7%. So, and that's for, in some, obviously there's some higher priced areas, if you can believe it or not, than Connecticut. It's just interesting to see that, that we had such a high impact in our area.
Well, see, this is also a 5-year revaluation. So this is 17% over 5 years, whereas we know from the national level, the national housing prices have gone up almost 20% in this year alone. So, and probably the values have gone up even since October. We could talk to our resident realtor here, but there's no sign of really anything going down at this point. And
I'm just curious because we fought for, and I resigned from the Board of Finance, obviously, but we fought very hard for to keep the mill rate flat. And now we're going back and it seems like we would be hitting people relatively hard in some cases.
Well, I think you're gonna find that every time things revalue, depending on what your property class is, but and again, there's not necessarily a connection between people's income and the value of their property. It's the hardest part of property tax. The only good thing is that overall our spending looks fairly flat. So as a whole group, as a community, we don't use the reduced mill rate as a chance to then increase spending and make the whole pot go up. So overall, we're probably, and I think again, there's a system in place where people can definitely challenge any value that's put out there, and our numbers tend to be pretty accurate. And what we'll probably wind up with one of the lowest mill rates. We already have one of the lowest mill rates in the state, and it'll probably be lower. By the time
we're 8th in the state right now.
What?
We are 8th in the state right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And currently in the real estate market, there are only 7 properties for sale in Cornwall, and not one is under 100, under 500. The cheapest one is, I think, 576. So, for local people or families that are wanting to expand, the kids are getting older, I don't have anything I can offer to them that's within the price range that they would like to be able to spend, which is basically under 300. Doesn't exist in Cornwall currently.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll tackle a lot of those
Mhm.
issues, and as we know from our last meeting, housing and things is one of our top priorities. So
Yeah.
we'll get down to that fairly
Right.
shortly. Anything else on the budget? Just that we'll get into that after the holidays. Let's see now, transfer station. How's it going, Ted?
Yeah, it's going well. I just want to reiterate that I know a lot of people have already had their boosters, but we still have to have our masks on. Some people are still, not giving Will and I the respect of putting the mask on. We just ask that everybody wear their masks for a few minutes that they're in there. That's all. Wanted to say that part.
Yeah, appreciate that word from the front lines. And again, everybody, we ask people to do their part and making everything flow better for everyone. So 2 other things I did talk solid waste with Curtis Rand from Salisbury a little bit today. He has put in for a regional composting grant for the state. There's a chance that one of our Region 1 towns may be opening up a commercial composting facility. So that might come together, and I believe our friends in Falls Village got a quote from a vendor to pick up compost in, at the 4 Region 1 transfer stations. So anyway, I think we're gonna get together early in the new year and get our little work group together again and see where we're at. But again, that's one of our goals. And it sounds like we may be able to get something in place fairly quickly on a, trial basis, see how it works. And I think it would be good to just get more information on that, and then we'll put the word out. Might be good to get it going in the winter time when things are a little cooler than in the summertime, where it may be a little more, little hotter there for our compost. So anyway, moving along on that. Anything else, Ted, other than our holiday hours?
No, other than that, I was told today that the regional grant situation through the DEP for the transfer stations that we could apply for composting and what have you, they have no money as right now, new fiscal year until July of next year. So all those grants that we were hoping that, Curtis was hoping to get, I was told that there is no money available at this time. If the 4 regional transfer stations did sign on with this company, we got to do a little more research on it. The reduced rate for their time to come up and pick up their totes, which are 64-gallon totes of compostable material, would drop significantly, and it would help in a regional way. It was like $75 for their trip to come to each regional transfer station. Right now, Sharon Salisbury is the only one that has that, and they're paying $225 a trip, on top of the $10 per 64-gallon tote bin that they dump. So we definitely, would like to look into that, and it's something we definitely can take a look at around the first of the year and see what maybe we could do as a region.
Yeah. Janet,
So, Ted, what kind of compost is accepted? And how would people bring it to you to be put into this tote?
From what I gather, this company, they actually give you a small container that if you can get these households to agree to, to compost, you're talking coffee, you're talking organic material, your coffee ground, your peels,
food scraps mostly.
yeah, non-meat and stuff like that. You bring it to the transfer station, and we monitor what goes into these bigger totes. What I'm talking about tote is like it's a 64-gallon, basically a garbage can.
Okay.
And then they come and they pick it up.
Okay. But each household would get a container and they bring that to the transfer station, and you would kind of monitor to make sure they're not throwing ham and stuff like that in there.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
Okay. Excellent.
I think
Thank you, Ted.
most households can just, get a 5-gallon pail with a lid on it and bring that in and dump it in. But I know in Salisbury, they said they're having trouble with people throwing plastic bags in there, and that messes up the work. So it has to be 100% organic material, something that's going to break down and not clog up all the machinery. So
Would
so
it be
we saw-
limited by household? Like you can only bring one container per week or something like that? You just have to see, I suppose.
we haven't got there yet. I think
Yeah.
they've been working, they've had a test program up in across the river there. So we'll see what they're
To see how they
doing.
did it. Perfect. I love that. That's a fantastic idea. Thank you.
Might be first come, first serve. We might be able to get a reserve tote or something. And I think we'll learn pretty quickly on how it catches on, but people have expressed an interest in doing that.
We
So,
just got to see how people are doing with it. Obviously Will and I have to monitor it. And if we need a vote, then that would be something we'd have to look into. I think it's out there. I think people want to do the right thing. And once it's out there that, where our garbage is going and how it's getting there, I think you'll find more people actually being a little conscious of what they're throwing out. And I think that's the bottom line right there.
Totally agree. Fantastic idea. Thank you, Ted.
You're welcome.
okay, anything else in transfer station?
That-
Okay, all right. So then housing plan, the housing task force, planning task force did meet for the last time yesterday afternoon, and unanimously, after a few changes, did pass on their plan to the Board of Selectmen. And I think we got it up on the website this morning. And so it's up to now this board to look at it. And what I propose is that we would vote to accept it at our next meeting, which would be January 4th. There's a lot in that plan. It's only like 18 pages, but there's a lot of information that's relevant to our town, and a lot of things, actions that we can take as a community to help make housing more obtainable for many people that either live here and want to downsize, upsize, or move into town. So, and I think there's a lot of creative ways we can do things. So the plan is to discuss that in a major way next meeting. I believe the whole board was at the meeting, so we saw the meeting and went to the 2-hour public hearing earlier in the month. And I'd just like to thank the committee for their work. It's been about a year's worth of meetings, and especially thank our planner, Janelle Mullen, who's spent a lot of time pulling this all together and incorporating a lot of different ideas into a very readable, but probably most importantly, usable and useful document that should have some, steps we can take to make things better. So anyway, I'll write them a note on our behalf, thanking them for their work, and yeah. Any other thoughts on that, folks, board? All
I
good?
thought it was a phenomenal effort. I mean, it was a lot of work by a lot of people over a long period of time. I think it was very thoughtful. And it's an amazing document. And I'm really proud to have served on that board also, as did Priscilla. And
Yeah.
Gordon, our chair, thank you for that too. That was a lot to take on.
Well, we survived a few Zoom bombs, thanks to
Sure,
John.
that was
and,
exciting.
just kept on going.
Sure.
But again, trying to make things practical, plan to move forward on this. So anyway, that's that. We will take up first thing in the new year. Anything else on that?
I'm always
Next,
impressed with Janelle's ability to clarify everyone's thoughts, because sometimes it gets a little bit overbearing. And then when it's all said and done, she makes it so nice and clear and easy to understand. I thoroughly appreciate that.
yeah, well organized, well done. Okay, anything else on the housing? So next, there is going to be the annual review of the town plan of conservation development, January 27th, 2022, 7 p.m. update in there. Again, that's the document that we refer to as we try to move things forward and improve things in town. And it's a chance for boards and commissions to say what they've been doing, and for townspeople to ask them what they've been doing and make suggestions or whatever, improve the effort to keep moving things forward in those two areas, as there is a lot going on in our little town.
What was
So
the date and time again? Gordon,
that's the 27th, which I'm not sure what day of the week that is. That looks like it is a Thursday night.
Okay.
And
you said 7:30, correct?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Because that can go on quite a while, because there can be, 10 boards or so reporting on what they've been doing, and then plenty of time for questions and answers and discussion. So
Is that going to be Zoom or live?
that will be Zoom.
Okay.
I'm assuming we're zooming for quite a
Assuming
while.
we're Zooming. Got it.
Yeah.
Good.
Got it. So anyway, that's coming events. Next is got a call from one of our municipal partners asking us to sign up for the opioid settlement fund. This is very current news. Today's Waterbury Republican opioid suit funds available. So there we go. We're right up to date. So basically, this is a national lawsuit that's been taken on by some states and the federal government to, as a result of the opioid epidemic, they are settling their suits with some of the major pharmaceutical companies that made a lot of the opioid products. And if all towns in Connecticut sign up for this, then we get an increased share of the settlement. And certainly, as it said in this very interesting article, that the United States last year, everybody's thinking about COVID, but which we should, but there was 100,000 deaths in the United States last year to opioid drug overdoses, which is a 28% increase from the year before. Senator Murphy said that this is partly to do to the stress of the pandemic. So, and again, each of these towns are impacted by this, including ours, as far as having opioids in town. As much as we don't like to think we do. And again, hopefully this fund will free up money for treatment and help the people that are suffering with addiction, which is, again, needs are increasing with some of those grim statistics. And there are programs that we support in some ways, but this will really help, I think. So again, it's a state, federal, and local level effort and federal level to try to get access to these funds. So what I would like is a motion from the board for empowering me to sign on to this lawsuit or the settlement. We're not actually suing anybody. We're getting a settlement. So the attorney generals have done the legal work. So what I would like to do is get authorization to sign on to the settlement to help access these funds for our state and towns. So somebody willing to make that, Priscilla?
I'm
Janet?
willing to make that move to allow Gordon to represent us in the town to move forward in this action.
Second,
Okay. Second, any discussion? I sent you some stuff earlier today about it. Yes, Janet, questions?
so exactly, like, how would Cornwall, I mean, how would the funds be given to Cornwall? What entity would receive these funds in Cornwall? I guess that's the question. Would it be the town?
Yeah.
And the town, is it kind of like the ARPA funds where you create a committee and you figure out how to best service Cornwall and the people?
Yeah, and I think some of the things would be, using our local, our local regional treatment centers and
Mhm.
bolstering those programs. And again, we'd work with our social service department. I don't think we try to reinvent the wheel, but we would bolster the programs that are already there and expand them.
Okay, like give money to Mountainside or? is
Well,
that-
I'm thinking
is that what the thought is?
more of, I'm thinking more like Greenwood's Counseling and
Sure.
McCall Foundation and wherever Cornwall people that are having issues go.
Okay.
I'm sure like McCall Foundation in Torrington comes out and gives us good presentations at the COG. So I'm sure there would be, I'm sure there would be plenty of, there'd be plenty of time to hear about how this would all play out.
Okay.
Again, hearing those statistics going up is just tragic. So, I'm glad if we can get people help, let's work on it. So, great. So any more discussion
No.
on that?
No.
Okay. So all in favor? Okay, unanimous. All right, so let's see. I don't see a public comment section on here, but I'll make a motion that we add public comment to our agenda. Is there a second?
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Public, press. This is your chance. Ask us those tough questions or
Oh,
make
thank you very
statements
much.
of
Thank
holiday
you.
cheer.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you very much, but I don't have any tough questions except to wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Yes,
Merry
likewise.
Christmas.
And thank you all for spending your evening with us and reporting our activities. Okay, anything else? Any other questions? Comments? Going once? Okay. So we'll see you all in the new year. Have a safe and joyous holidays. Okay, thank you all.
Night.
Holidays.